It's the Human First AI Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague at Avenue 9, where we help people figure out how to do human first AI marketing, mostly around context engineering and marketing strategy, helping you use AI to connect with people rather than replace them. More information on avenue9.com. My two guests this week are the co-founders of Linkify. You can find them at linkify.io, where they're doing PR link building in a white hat manner and helping you increase your SEO and AEO rankings. Chris, I think we should start there with what white hat link building is in 2025, because I feel like there's a lot of gray area and a lot of black hat practices out there too. What's the state of PR link building these days?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having us, Mike. So Google essentially frowns on any form of link building as per its public literature. How much of that you believe is up to you, but it says you shouldn't try and gain its algorithm in any way by buying links, trading for links, or all of that sort of stuff. Whereas digital PR is a natural activity which can result in a backlink. So John Mueller has even said it's sort of the only thing that you should do to get links. It's you're not paying for anything. There's no exchange of anything other than engaging with journalists and the media in order to get coverage for yourself, for your brand. And if it results in a link, then that's great for all of the like SEO benefits and LLMO benefits. But you're not actually doing anything that's against their terms of service.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And Nick, I wanted to get your take on what you think here. And we got a lot to unpack here. I mean, so I think as AI becomes more prolific, you can create a robot that goes out and submits you to every directory on the internet. And those tools already existed before AI. You can generate all kinds of fake articles and post them. They're on fake websites and do all kinds of things to artificially inflate SEO rankings. But now it's like AEO searches and people go to ChatGPT instead of Google. I find that maybe the rules have changed a little bit. The duplicate content isn't as bad, or backlinks aren't maybe as necessary as these actual quotes and a consistent message on multiple platforms. I know it's all up in the air. So as we sit here in the Q3 of 2025, what's the state of PR in a world with AI?
I think PR is proving to be very important, but I think it's everyone's figuring out what moves the needle when it comes to LLM search. And so one of the narratives is that PR is very important because these LLMs are they're needing to verify the information. So if you're asking for the best, X for Y, they're not just going out and looking at a listicle. They do include that, but they are looking for references across trusted media sites of this company does this. And so they want to see that, the phrase, the digital PR agency, and then the citation to the site. So I think that's really where digital PR is becoming important for LLM visibility.
And Chris, I want to give you a swing at this one too, because I find it fascinating that, Google made famous the 10 blue links. And if you're trying to link the top 10 things, you need 10 different things to list there. You don't like duplicate content and be like, oh, there's 10 links to 10 pages that all have the exact same blog post or exact same top 10 list. You want unique, credible sources that are different and have some options for people to pick from. But if you're an AI giving a conversational answer, it's more like a human. If you asked, me, what's the best restaurant in Boston or something, I'm going to give you a few of my choices, but I'm not going to give you 10 directory listings and say, good luck, go pick one, right? That kind of changes the game and what we're trying to do when we're getting listed, right?
Yeah, I think for us as an agency, it's been we've been fortunate that we took this very white hat earned media approach, and that it naturally lends itself to building a brand. So SEO is very established, 10 blue links. We know that links move the needle. We know that white hat earned media links are extremely powerful and safe. So it's a safe bet for your SEO. Then when it comes to AEO or GEAO or whatever 3-letter combination we're using to describe it, it's safe to bet that being a brand and an established brand is going to be one of the significant signals that allows you to be continually surfaced by the models. And like Nick said, there are people gaming the system now. There are people building fake pages in order to build fake listicles because the language models are pulling from some listicles, although most of the sources from a number of recent studies suggest it's coming from like tier 1 earned media. But at some point, the large language models are going to have to level up in the same way that Google did when they needed to make sure that they were ranking 10 safe and credible pages for, how do you treat cancer? Like it can't be long until the large language models are going to have to have something in place. And it's a safe bet that being a well-established brand is definitely going to be a part of that.
Great. So now I want to switch to strategy a little bit. And I'll let you guys pick who answers this one first. I think I still run into a ton of especially older marketing leaders who think PR is I submit a press release and I go to PR Newswire. Can you tell us how PR has evolved from what it originally maybe started as and what it is in 2025 and beyond?
Yeah. So when we talk about it, we're talking about digital PR, where that's more traditional PR. And press releases still have their place. If you're a large company and you're doing something internally that, you want people to know about, you have a new product you're releasing, a new office, press releases can still make sense, but they're not an SEO initiative. For digital PR, the entire point is to get that backlink. Now that is changing with the LLM focus, where there's maybe you don't need the backlink. Maybe the mention, the citation is enough in itself. That will actually trigger the LLMs to recommend you. But from an SEO standpoint, you're trying to get the backlink from that publication. So all your efforts are about providing value, demonstrating yourself as an expert to that publication, getting them to use either your story or your commentary, and then that link back. Whereas traditional PR was about the exposure or the messaging of getting your message out in front of people.
I think that's fair. And how do we go about doing that? I mean, obviously you have a service here and some stuff, but what does outreach look like these days?
Well, I mean, it's so crowded now, and to get attention within the news cycle is becoming increasingly difficult. Not only for people, businesses, brands that want to, get information out there about their business, their company, but also for the publications that are fighting with all of the different platforms that's taking people's attention. So it's very difficult for, let's say, like a SaaS company to release a new function on their email deliverability tool to get that in the news, because it's just not newsworthy. It's like not newsworthy at all. It's easier for larger brands, and then larger brands, obviously, they'll do interesting creative things, maybe like pop-up shops or fun runs, these sorts of like initiatives, or it will be genuinely newsworthy if it's like, OpenAI launches something magnificent. But yeah, it's difficult. We're all fighting for a limited space and so many different eyeballs going everywhere. So for us, it comes down again to brand and personal branding, and how you can get just that core information about like your business, the name, what it does in these tier 1 publications. And then more traditional PR would probably be better suited for that very on point messaging specifically about the business.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. There's a few things here for me. One, you guys were kind enough to have me on your podcast, the Market Movers podcast, and I found podcasting to be and guest posting a very good way to get into other people's feeds and listings. There's going to be a transcript of this conversation, some sort of blog post, and a backlink. It's going to get syndicated everywhere and show up in a lot of places. That to me is really great. I've also done a ton of thought leadership where, there are programs where you can pay and be a Forbes, panel member or do thought leadership in a way as sort of the second bucket. But I think you're talking about something different, which is something I'm maybe not familiar with. Can you tell me more about like these tier one publications and how they choose or how you would even get included in one of those?
Right. So there's really two ways. There are journalists who are actively working on an article. If they're working on maybe something about sleep, improving your sleep, whatever it is, they usually need to source experts. Anytime it's like a tips-based piece. Obviously, the breaking news is different. Let's say they're talking about how to improve your sleep. Well, if you're a journalist, like you're going to need to back up some of these things you're saying with quotes from a sleep doctor. You want input from them. So they go out and they look for experts to help like either build their story or support their story. And those opportunities are where you can position yourself as the expert, provide a quote to that journalist, and then if they use your quote, they link back to you. And so that's one way to secure coverage. The second is to reach out to journalists. So if you come up with some ideas that align with your business, your products or services, and then you come up with some angles that you think are newsworthy, you can reach out to the journalists and pitch those ideas. And if the journalists have to turn out multiple stories per day. So if a nice story comes to them and they think it looks good, they might run it. And then of course, if they run it, they're going to credit you because you're the original source. So that's the main two ways that you can secure digital PR features.
Yeah, it's fascinating here. Who do you think is best positioned? Can small businesses compete with larger brands in digital PR?
Yeah, 100%. But I think what's important to recognize, I think this is the first like rung of, is that a word? Ring? First step of building authority. Because whether you're doing inbound or outbound digital PR, if you're trying to help a journalist with an existing article or you're taking a story to the journalist, either way, it has to fit into that existing current news cycle. So you lose a large amount of narrative control. So like I said, with that specific SaaS new feature example, it's not going to be that. It's going to be much broader. But it's the first step of building authority to the person that's been quoted, and then by extension, the business that's also being mentioned and then linked to. So I think that's like the first step. But you then build on top of that with things like thought leadership, podcast, speaking events. And the more that we're feeding any model, whether that's Google's algorithm or the AI models, the more that we are controlling the narrative, like the things that are being said about us, but also the quality of the places that are talking about us. So the BBC's, Forbes, New York Times, the more that we are able to align and associate our business and our brand with that, then the more impact it will have over time.
Yeah. Now you mentioned kind of the news cycle a few times here. Where would you rank newsjacking in the white hat to black hat, marketing tactics?
I'd still white hat
for us first, Nick.
It's definitely still white hat because you have to provide value. You pitch the journalist; they get to decide whether or not to use your comments, right? So I think this happens. Of course, it's either a branding, exposure, or link building initiative, but this is a naturally occurring thing. When there's breaking news, journalists reach out to experts in the space. They want their input. They want to know how this impacts, whatever it is that it's going on. So if you're proactive in reaching out and saying, I am that expert, I can comment on this, you're providing value and they have to choose to use it. So I'd say it's a white hat activity.
Yeah, Chris, same.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I suppose for Google, well, I mean, if we're talking about Google specifically, then they didn't want you to be able to game the system through just financial payments. Like you pay for links. If you've got a big budget, you can buy more links. If you're a super black hat person who can figure out that you can build PBNs and like just build links, and it can all like affect the system. Whereas, like Nick said, it doesn't matter how sort of crazy the idea is, whatnot. You've still got to actually come up with a story, connect with the journalists, and then it is ultimately 100% their decision whether or not they're going to run that story and go with it. And it's also hundreds of other people, if not thousands of other people, are trying to do the same thing. And it's as old as time. Just the news and trying to be in the news. Even when it was just newspapers, you'd get like a local bakery would open. They'd want the local paper there to put them in the news. So it's white hat, but we're just enjoying the benefits of what it provides.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Maybe I shouldn't have put it in the frame of white hat or black hat, because I think there are maybe different tactics. And I've been a fan of guerrilla marketing and bootstrap tactics for small businesses for a long time. I do think maybe there's more evergreen content than a newsjacking cycle, or I guess what I don't like about it is when like something happens like the did you guys see the Coldplay concert thing? Yeah, everybody's seen it, right? And you go, well, if I'm whatever brand, I think it's a little, I don't know, just slimy to jump on this and be like, okay, I'm going to try to come up with some sort of story. If you're a divorce attorney or something, jumping on it's maybe not a bad idea. It's a breaking news story in your industry. Or if you're a marriage counselor, you can call up the nightly news and say, hey, let's talk about, whether you should stay with your spouse or something after a cheating episode. Like there are some interesting, I think, legit reasons why you would do that. And then, there's baseball teams that have kiss cams and stuff, and they're putting their mascot, with their arms around somebody. And that to me feels like a relevant and funny joke and kind of on brand for them. But then there's a lot of stuff that I guess you just have to decide, is that off brand for you, or is your brand to constantly try and chase memes and fleeting stories rather than create this consistent voice message and brand and reach out when it's appropriate. Is that fair, Nick?
I think that's exactly right, because I think this is the Phillies you were talking about with the mascot, which was hilarious.
Yeah, the Phillies did it. The Savannah Bananas did it with their monkey mascot and stuff.
Okay. That's great.
Throwing around.
Yeah, I think if you're a divorce attorney, a marriage counselor, it makes total sense to have insights on that event. If you're not, I think it's just kind of cringy, and I think that's a problem with the industry right now. Is that Chris just posted something about this today, about how many companies are running with just completely irrelevant stories that make no sense for their business. And that's an example. There were multiple campaigns that went out commenting on that from businesses that just had no relevant tie to it. So I think that's important to make sure that you don't take it so far to react to anything that's trending in the news. That if you're trying to build your profile, and this goes beyond just an SEO focus. This is, I think, building your brand focus, which SEO is a part of. If you're not a marriage counselor, then you probably shouldn't react to that. You should figure out, I'm an expert in this area, and you should stick to those areas, because long term, I think you'll do more harm than good reaching out with completely irrelevant topics.
Yeah, and Chris, we talked about it a little bit before we hit record, but I think good branding is going to become more and more important as we look into the future, because whether it's for SEO and trying to get ranked for a keyword and showing up repeatedly in links and stuff, or AEO, I think learns more like humans, and it wants a brand, and it wants to understand what you stand for, what you do, and so it can answer questions about you and your business or industry on a regular basis. Or it's just human buyers. We need to repeat and remind them who we are and what we do. It seems like really good marketing, consistent branding is going to be the way of the future still. Do you have any tips or suggestions on that, or what you're seeing?
Yeah, well, I agree. And to speak to what you were just talking about in terms of a divorce attorney picking up on that, and other companies that make no sense to do so. Like, I think that would boil down to like either how good is their in-house PR or the PR agency that they're working with, because that could be handled in a really, really, really nice, valuable way. You know, there are going to be people out there that are either getting divorced or they've been in a position where they're, you know, it's sparked something. There's a real value give, and a really good divorce attorney firm that can position that story in a really valuable and useful way that's really good PR. And I think having that consistent messaging as well, where it makes sense, like these two people were illicitly watching a concert when they were both married, I think. So, you know, there's a real sort of, that's, you know, is it grounds for divorce for her? Like there's questions straight off the bat. And if that company, that, you know, this hypothetical divorce attorney firm is going to put information out in the ether that's really, really valuable, and that's what they're doing continually, then that's really, really good. It's really good messaging and it's consistent. If a cosmetic surgeon clinic released a story and said, or, you know, maybe, I don't know, just something completely irrelevant, then it's not good. And I actually think it would be damaging as well to the company over time. And they're getting stupid as well, some of these connections and stuff that brands are doing, that it actually shines the company in a bad light, I think. So, yeah, I think it's important to really stay on brand. Like, you can get fun and cheeky and stuff and creative as long as it makes sense and it's tasteful, and it's keeps everything looking the way it should.
Yeah, I think obviously when you look at some of the PR disasters of the last few years, it's when brands have reached too far outside of their swing zone, like Bud Light or others, where it's like, this tie-in doesn't make sense. The story, you shouldn't be commenting on this. We don't care what Coca-Cola's take on something is, right. And I think that is the same thing you're talking about there, which is we need to stay aligned with who we are and what we're trying to do and what our audience is looking to us for in order to do that. So I guess I'm curious, as we go forward, it seems like I'm seeing a sea change here. In the next 10 to 15 years, I'm hopeful that good marketing and good PR is going to continue to reign, because it seems like with AI and the proliferation of these stories, like with more people trying to cheat and overreach and take shortcuts, that it's just going to be overwhelm the system, that it's going to have to flip back. But I'm curious to both of you, do you think, good PR and branding becomes easier to do in the next 10 years or harder as media splinter and stuff? What do you think the state of PR is in maybe, 2035?
I think it becomes harder. I think a lot of things are becoming harder. And I think we're seeing there's like a bias toward, especially with Google, but a little bit in LLMs as well, that there's a bias towards established brands. So I think it's sort of the race to get there, become an established brand. But I think people are kind of panicking about like, okay, search is changing. But from early studies, the things that get you recommended in the LLMs are really brand building things. They're basic marketing. I think we go through these stretches where we come up with these new strategies, and this is the trending thing, and that's the trending thing. But when you look past all that, like the companies that grow through it are the companies who build a real brand and they do real marketing initiatives. And those are the things that are going to get you showing up in the LLMs as well.
I agree.
Chris, what's your take?
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's going to be harder but I also think that brands that like build their specific audiences and then market to those audiences and have those audience grow with their brand, which is many of the companies that we all love, like young companies that have come good and done really well. They do these great, like you said, guerrilla marketing and stuff. So, but I also, I think it is going to be a race to become a brand as well. But also as well, I have no idea, because I mean, we had a conversation when you were on our podcast, what was it, a few months ago, and everything's changed since then. So who knows?
Yeah, I find it most fascinating that maybe those trusted brands you're talking about, or news sources, aren't going to be so trusted anymore. And we've seen that trend really, continuing to pick up speed. But if there's no writers at the Washington Post and they're using AI generated stuff, I don't know what happens. If if younger and younger people and Gen Z and Alpha are getting more answers from Reddit than they are from the New York Post, what does that mean
God
for
help
PR?
us.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think there might be more of a shift towards that, but I just see these major publications, major news networks staying relevant in some capacity. Yeah, I think a lot of the mistrust outside of the political aspects, because there's always going to be political mistrust. A lot of it has been a lot of these news organizations, they strayed too far. They were putting out loads of affiliate articles. They just got into affiliate SEO, and they did a lot of things that made people lose trust. But I think that's sort of a separate element from their news side of things. The news side of things is like, you're not going to go to Reddit if you want to like read what's going on in the world. Maybe you would if it's a very, if you're digging into a very specific topic, but you don't, not, I think most people are going to go to CNN or whatever their news source is. So there's always going to be that element, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting how it shakes out, because I'm not sold. I think it will always be there, or at least it'll be a slow death. But I came from the radio world, and it happened in radio real fast. Internet and podcasts took over, and satellite radio and all the other streams took over pretty quick within a decade. And now when I ask young people, ask them to name a local DJ on the radio, and unless they're listening to like sports talk or something, they really can't anymore. So I find
that wasn't necessary. But that's interesting. But I mean, we've still got the radio, and the podcast. A podcast is still essentially radio. It's just, not everyone's. We didn't ditch listening to people speaking in just speaking, did we? And like the sports coverage in the UK, like especially cricket and golf and stuff, is still huge on the radio. So. Yeah, but I mean,
maybe that's where I'm going. I guess is that I think all these strategies stay the same. It's just the sources; those trusted sources might not be CNN. It might be Joe Rogan, or it might be a YouTube channel instead of a news article as we go forward, or a big blog and big newsletter and stuff too. There's a ton of huge AI newsletters that I follow that are more important, I think, for me to be sourced in than a local newspaper or something that wouldn't even be my target audience.
And I think if that happens, then it's just a strategy shift. Rather than pitching the news, you're looking more in your industry, which you already should be doing a bit, seeing like who has influence in your industry, trying to get on their radar. I think that's more of just a shift in who you're targeting with your outreach and relationship building.
And the last one's a fun one. What sci-fi movie do you think we'll end up in within our lifetimes? If you go at least 30 years out, either what movie do you hope we end up in, or which one do you think is most likely?
I can speak to TV more than movie. So I'm a big fan of Foundation, and I think Series 3's just dropped. I haven't started it yet, but could be like that. It's like sort of genetic AI modified leaders that, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's nuts. It's really good.
I haven't. What's it on?
Oh man, it is brilliant. On Apple.
Okay.
Foundation. And I just watched the trailer before I came on your show for the new Alien TV series, Alien Earth or something. So that looks pretty good. But yeah, my guess would be something pretty like epically futuristic.
I don't know. I don't want to say iRobot because I obviously hope that doesn't happen. I feel like I'm hoping that we'll get to the version of like where we all have our own Alfred. We all have like this in-home system, or was it Jarvis from Avengers, where we can talk to someone who can like operate things. I think that's where we're moving, where we all have like this sort of personal assistant. Hopefully that includes a home robot who can do laundry and cook as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think Jarvis is definitely one of my examples of the best way to do it. I think Star Trek Next Generation is a decent outcome. Unfortunately, if I had to pick what's most likely, somewhere between like Silo and Minority Report.
Silo's good.
Silo's
pretty good one too. All right, we're nerding out too much, so I'll leave you with one chance to talk about Linkify. It's linkify.io. It's in the show notes below. You can also check out the Market Movers podcast wherever you're listening or watching to this. Chris, how can you help us? How can we help you?
We've got a good cheat sheet. If people want to do this on their own, there's some great opportunities to go and pitch the media. Linkify.io/cheat/cheat-sheet. So you can get that for free. Get started on your own. I teach you how to get your first like 3 or 4 big links. And then, reach out on LinkedIn or X as well. Quite active on X.
Nick, thanks for being on the show. Anything you'd add?
I think that covers it. Yeah, we're venturing into LLM visibility, so I think stay tuned for that. If you follow us, we'll be releasing some audits for that soon.
Yeah, check out my episode on the Market Movers podcast as well. We had a great deep dive discussion on what AI and marketing looks like going forward. And until next time, check out avenue9.com for human first AI marketing, where we can interview your founder, your top salesperson, your best strategic partners or employees, and create context for LLMs and your marketing in a really cool way that wasn't possible just a few years ago. If that sounds interesting to you, or you need help figuring out AI marketing, go to avenue9.com. Until next time, keep going, everybody.